Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Game Things. I'm your host for the week, Ming, and today we'll start off our episode by talking about the most recent Xbox Direct. So the most recent Xbox Direct didn't really have a lot of things to show for, at least I didn't really find most of the stuff that interesting. We had some new footage from Senua's Hellblade 2, a brand new Indiana Jones game, and I guess the highlight of the entire Xbox Direct was of course Elder Scrolls Online, their brand new expansion called The Gold Road. So yeah, overall if you ask me, I personally don't find any of this particular news interesting, but hey, my editor will flash up some of the newly highlighted games that I just mentioned about over on the screen. So if you are interested, you can check out all these games individually, as we will not go into depth about all these games. Moving on from that, we'll talk about Sandland, which is set to release on the 26th of April 2024 on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series S and X, Xbox One, and PC. So Sandland will have three different editions, including Standard, Deluxe, and a Collector's Bundle. For the Standard, you'll get a Survivalist Camo Pack. For the Deluxe, you'll get the Speed Demon Pack, some additional decals, and the housing DLC. Of course, whatever that you get in standard, you will also get in the deluxe version. And lastly, for collector's bundle, you'll get a figurine as well as whatever that is offered in the deluxe version. So, what exactly is Sandland? Sandland, if you didn't know, is something that is a brand new game that shares very similar art styles to Dragon Quest. Well, of course, it's because it's by Bandai Namco. And yeah, but unlike Dragon's Quest, you it's much more different in the sense that Dragon Quest is more fantasy based, where you have magic, monsters, and stuff like that. While Sandland, on the other hand, also has monsters, but way lesser magic. But instead, what you have is stuff like tanks. So it's more mech based as compared to Dragon Quest. But of course, the gameplay itself is really different, considering the fact that, well, one is magic based and one is mechanical based. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting concept, I guess, and if you are interested in it, you can check it out when it's released, or you can check out the trailer right now to know more about the game itself. Then next, we have news on Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl, which finally has a release date, and it is currently set on the 5th of September 2024. So this game was previously delayed a couple of times, and it's great to know that we finally do actually get a confirmed release date. So whoever that has been looking forward to the game itself can finally be able to calm down and look forward to the game being finally released on September. Then we have the last and final piece of news, which is of course on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth just got a brand new trailer last week, featuring of course our favorite villain Sephiroth. And yeah, other than that, I would say every single Final Fantasy trailer always features very good cinematics. And if you are a fan of Final Fantasy at all, I highly suggest to check out the trailer. Even if you don't, just check out the trailer as well, because the cinematics are always a banger. And the best part is, of course, Final Fantasy VII is not far away. It will be releasing on the 29th of February, which is about a month away from now, and I personally am looking forward to the game a ton. Now, let's talk about some games that you can get your hands on right now, starting with Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, available on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series S and X, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. So Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is actually a Metroidvania based game. So it's a 2D side scroller platform based game. And yeah, it's a pretty decent game considering the fact that we have not had a good quality Castlevania or Metroidvania based game for a pretty long while. Oddly enough, now that I think about it, actually Prince of Persia being a Metroidvania based game is actually really suitable, considering the fact that main things you do in Prince of Persia is, well, fight enemies and parkour. A lot of parkour, right? As well as, well, solve puzzles. So yeah, being a Metroidvania based game actually suits Prince of Persia a lot. And from what I've seen from reviews so far, The game itself is pretty solid, which is definitely a plus if you're looking to try a brand new Metroidvania based game. Then next, we have The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered available on PS5. Honestly, not much needs to be said about this game at this point. We have seen this game being released like a couple of years ago, and the first part was remastered a couple of years ago as well. And yeah, at this point, I don't really have much to say about The Last of Us 2 other than the fact that it's a great game and hopefully the remaster is, well, just as good or even better. Personally, I don't really think there's a need for a remaster because the old version is still perfectly fine. Let's face it, it's just another cash grab. But hey, if you have never played it before, you should definitely get the remastered version. But if you have played it before, it's probably a pass. You probably don't need to buy this game. Then next, we have Another Code Recollection available on Nintendo Switch. So what is Another Code Recollection about? Another Code Recollection is basically a story-based game where you play as a character called Ashley who found out that her supposed dead dad is alive, and well, she has to solve a mystery behind her dad, well, hiding the fact that he's alive. And this is not a brand new game, it's actually a remaster of the original game that was released on the Wii. And this game actually has two games in it. So after you play the first game, you will be able to play the sequel, and hence the name Recollection. And for all you fans that actually played the original game, you'll finally be able to play the sequel in English because the sequel was originally only available in Japan and not available anywhere else. So yeah, if you are looking for a slightly different game that you want to try out, maybe give Another Code Recollection a try and maybe you will enjoy the game. The next release that I'm going to talk about is called Golden Sun. So Golden Sun is actually a really old game, and there are two titles to it. One is Golden Sun and the other is Golden Sun: The Golden Age. So both of these games will be available on the Nintendo Switch online library starting from, well, effectively this week. So yeah, these two games, if you have never heard of it before, is actually a pretty old JRPG back from the day of Game Boy as well as the Nintendo DS. So yeah, basically about a 10 to 15-year-old game. Yeah, but regardless, I personally played it when I was younger back then, and I enjoyed it a ton because while it's a JRPG, it actually features some pretty cool mechanics and it's pretty different, I would say. Yeah, I can't really explain it in too much detail because I don't really know how to explain it, but it's definitely a game that you should try out if you don't mind the graphics. And it's actually a really, really good game that I wish would have gotten a remake, but unfortunately, no remake. But hey, at least it's being released on the Nintendo Switch Online Library, so I consider that a W for the game. Then the last game that I'm going to talk about today is Power World. So Power World has just been released as I'm recording, and yeah, I personally just bought the game, have not tried it out yet, but I'm really looking forward to try it. And while I personally kind of expected it to be more like Pokemon, the fact that it's actually a more survival based game is actually pretty interesting and quite unexpected because from all the scenes that we have seen thus far, we kind of thought that it's gonna be a something like Pokemon but just with guns, but instead it's actually more survival based building, but at the same time you get Pokemon like creatures to help you out. And I would say that in general there's a lot of hype for the game, so much so that on the day of its release, Steam actually kind of crashed because too many people were rushing to buy the game. So yeah, are you guys gonna try out Power World? If you are, maybe drop a comment and maybe we can actually get into a game together and explore the game together if you guys are interested, and we'll try to grow as a community. And that marks the end of our release segment. Now we go to our last and final segment, free things. So this week Epic Games Store is giving out a free title called Love, and that's basically it for the free things that we get this week. And that marks the end of our episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, I was your host for the week, Ming, and we'll see you guys next week on another episode of Game Things.